Hi guys, welcome to this tactical video. This is the third video in my series on how to make assault work in Warhammer 40,000, and this one is going to be about delivery methods. So delivery methods is a term that are used quite often in people's lists and tactics talks, and for those who don't know, a delivery method is, as it sounds, it's basically a tactic, a special rule, a model, a strategy that you use in order to get a unit somewhere where it can be effective. So because we're talking about assault, then obviously we're talking about getting a unit into assault. So how you do that is a delivery method, sorry. So the most obvious one is assault transports, and as you can see I've got two here. They're not fully painted, sadly. So you've got Storm Raven, which is a flyer, Land Raider, everyone knows about. These are assault transports, which means that a unit that is embarked upon them, because they're transports, when it comes out it can charge on that turn. That's a very powerful rule for obvious reasons, and these are very defensive vehicles, so as a result these are expensive. Now the bonuses, of course, is that this is a flyer with a lot of firepower, this is a tank with a lot of firepower. You get in bonuses there in addition, but you basically are paying above the odds for this kind of thing. So if it was something that you want to put these with, if it's a unit you want to put in these, make sure you can afford it, because obviously it's a big investment. Now, there are also open-topped vehicles which you can assault out of. These have their own weaknesses. They tend to be much defensively weaker than these. They tend to have less firepower than always. Maybe smaller transport capacities, or but generally speaking, they're not quite as defensive. And as a result, they are cheaper, but often faster. So, what types you use depends on what army you're playing, of course. What kind of units you want to put in there, and how much you're willing to spend on them. But that's the general thing there. So that they're good for certain situations, and we'll go into that a bit more in a minute. Now I've also got a fortification here, which is the Bastion. As of the not the escalation, the Stronghold Assault expansion, you can assault out of these. Of course, it's carried over into 7th edition, so you can assault out of a building. So even though you can't move with it, it's good for counter-assault purposes, but at the same time it's good for keeping your units safe. So it's kind of a delivery method in that sense, because it keeps you safe until then. But I put it there for the sake of completeness. So for getting assault transports, because they're pretty straightforward, you have regular transports, which, as you can see here, we've got a Rhino, a Drop Pod. This could be anything, including Wave Serpent, that kind of thing. You cannot assault out of these things. And what this means is, although they buy you speed and precision, so you can get your unit to the right place, they also grant you protection, of course, in the case of the Rhino. You would not be able to assault immediately, which means you need to either coordinate your army to a better standard than the others. It's less reactionary, for instance. Or the alternative is that you have a unit there that is more durable than necessarily you would put in there, and it can survive a turn before getting in. There's numerous ways of doing that, including some of the things I've mentioned in the previous videos in the series, but generally speaking that's the basic principle here. So the benefits here are these are obviously much cheaper than the assault transports. On top of that, the Drop Pod in particular is a very precise method of getting something in, and you can get it in early. Drawbacks, of course, are that if you arrive on turn 1, you're facing the full force of your opponent's army, so you're more likely to get shot up, so you have to be careful about how you use it. On top of that, these are a much smaller profile, so they're easy to hide behind buildings or ruins or whatever, so a bit less visible than the huge Land Raider and Storm Raven. But yeah, generally speaking, these are all delivery methods that are open to you, but as you can see, they've all got drawbacks. The other obvious thing is speed. Now, I've obviously gone over before in previous videos how important speed is. Here we've got a Seraphim with Jump Pack, and we've got a Space Marine Biker. Both of these methods are perfectly good for getting into assault. Reason being, it can move as fast as this, if not faster. And on top of that, you can assault. So, you know, you don't have to wait that turnaround. It's generally speaking cheaper than that, and you get other benefits like better in assault, Hammer of Wrath hits, you know, smaller profile again. So, generally speaking, if you can do it, you can do that. This is a better method. However, you lose the protection bonuses because obviously you don't have the armor. While you gain some toughness from the bikes and some other benefits, Space Marine bikes in particular aren't really designed for close combat, even though you can build things that are. But generally speaking, these are more exposed because of that, so there's the drawbacks there. And of course they're more expensive than some other methods that don't have these. So again, you have to weigh it up. But generally speaking, if they have something like this, that's a good idea. Just because something has a jump pack or a bike, though, doesn't necessarily mean it wants to be in close combat, but you know, it's a good delivery method. Now, other delivery methods include special rules. And these can range from all sorts of things. So I'm basically going to go through these. So the obvious one is Terminators. These represent deep striking. Deep striking is basically the same as the drop pod. In most cases, it's a little more unsafe because of the scatter rules. However, there's many codexes and ways to build it where that's not so much the case anymore. But again, the weaknesses are that, you know, you can't charge. You won't be coming in turn 1 unless you've got special rules. So you might not arrive till turn 4. It's dangerous when you scatter, and of course you must start in like next to each other, so you create a big circle the bigger the unit is, and you know it's more vulnerable to templates. So quite a lot of weaknesses there for the benefit of getting in, but it is an option, and that is a delivery method, even if it's not always the most efficient one. On top of that, we've got a Striking Scorpion, which is to represent Infiltrate and Scout. Again, these are deployment methods early on, and as a result, you know, you can move towards the enemy. You can start them right in front of the enemy's face with Infiltrate. You can even outflank them to come on later on, which is better for defensive purposes. But you know, it's just a method of getting in quicker. I mean, obviously you can't assault on the first turn with Infiltrate or Scout or outflank when coming in from reserves, but you can at least get them close enough to assault soon after, so there you go. Again, the drawbacks are that you're throwing yourself into enemy's face, so unless you're a particularly hardy unit or you've got other units doing a similar kind of thing, you're going to be a bit vulnerable, but you know, it's another delivery method. Now, also we've got Harlequin. They have their own special rules, including, as you can see here, the Shadow Seer, who can basically buff them so you can't shoot at the unit outside of a certain distance with a psychic power. They also have other rules where they ignore terrain and that kind of thing, so they can basically run through cover, which is a suitable method, so they're getting better saves, a bit more durable. They're fast because they're Eldar, and you know, they're defensive against long range shooting, so you know, they've got those methods. If you get close to them, then obviously they'll charge you. Very much like this is the Howling Banshees. Again, they ignore all terrain. They have fleet because they're Eldar, which means they can run faster. They add 3 inches to their run and also to their charging, and they can't be overwatched. So there's a lot of special rules that the Banshees have to help them get into assault. And yeah, so basically it's showing you like different ways you can get these foot troops closer into the assault. Okay, and finally, as the final example, I've got Repentia, of course. Whilst they don't have the same things as the others do, they do still have fleet, meaning they're a bit faster than usual on the ground. Now, the point of this is to show that, and I've gone over this before in How to Win at 40k, look at a model's special rules. Does it give you an inbuilt delivery method? In the case of Fleet, which all of these, of course, but especially these do, it's implying you should be taking them on foot. That is what they're for. They can run up fast enough to get in, okay? Same with the Harlequins, of course. With these, their special rules, because they're defensive in cover, is basically infiltrate in cover, get as close as you can, and just be an annoyance until they can later assault. And like shut off a flank or anything like that. So again, be on foot. They don't need the transports. The Terminators have the option of deep striking, but it's not necessarily the best option, especially if they aren't shooty ones. So you may want to come up with other methods, because otherwise they're quite slow. In other words, they need a transport. Their transports are limited, which means, generally speaking, I mean, you could put them in a drop pod, but generally speaking, you'll want an assault transport, which makes them more expensive. There's more of an investment. These I've already talked about, so I won't go over that too much. Whether something needs one of these depends on what else is in your army and whether you can protect the assault unit coming out. Again, for this, very much counter assault, but don't buy it just for that, because if you've got fortification, you generally want to use it to protect something that's shooty, and as a result, putting in a counter assault unit is a good idea, so being able to assault out is good. Okay, and in the meantime, they can use the embarked guns, so they at least get a shooting attack, which they might not do usually. And of course, the assault transports, you pay a premium, but you also get a lot more power because they're protected. You can move around. They're much more reactionary, and it even benefits cheaper units, not just Terminators. But for instance, Repentia in a Land Raider can be very, very potent. So you have basically all of these options, and really just look at what the units are doing. Look at what their special rules are, whether or not they benefit you most. Which delivery method you choose very much depends on the units you are using, but also it very much depends on its relation to the rest of your army. So I can't sit here and say which is the best delivery method for which unit, because honestly it really does depend on the rest of your army. So because of that, look at the special rules, see how it can be used to the maximum effect, and then try and plan it like that. If it still doesn't quite have enough in your army, or it's lacking, consider another method to boost it, like one of the transports, especially assault transports. And then think about the drawbacks of that as well, and how that would affect the rest of your army. So basically just give it some thought. But yeah, delivery methods are very, very important. Combine it with some other smart tactics, especially if you've seen the previous two videos. Combine it with that, and you'll have a lot more success with any of these delivery methods. So that's it for this video, and we've got some more coming up soon. So if you liked it, remember to click like, don't forget to comment and subscribe. If you have any questions, I'll try and get back to you very quickly. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time.